Chapter 405, No Reservations. The blazing serpents reflected in the eyes of the doctor on duty, the 3 night nurses, and the patient who had woken up. Fear appeared on their faces, and they turned around in various panicked movements. As they fled in the opposite direction of the flames, they shouted, "Fire! Fire! Help! Help!" As their voices echoed, the flaming serpents burned the invisible threads of spider silk, accompanied by a scorching wind formed by the clash of cold and heat. It pursued them relentlessly, blocking the exit from the room and forcing them into a corner. The 5 of them acted normally. They darted around, searching for a safe escape, wrapping themselves in blankets and attempting to force their way through the wall of flames. They also rushed to another window with the intention of jumping down. It seemed Lumion had misjudged the situation. Any abnormal movements didn't necessarily mean I know someone. If this continued, he risked incinerating 5 innocent people. However, the 3 crimson flaming serpents showed no hesitation. They continued to pursue the doctor on duty, the night nurses, and the mental patient, emanating an icy, ruthless madness that showed no regard for human life. As the blazing serpents closed in on their targets, a few of them began to show signs of despair. The patient on the 3rd floor ward suddenly halted and turned around. Grayish-white, stone-like scales sprouted on his once ordinary face, covering his skin that was not concealed by the blue and white striped hospital gown. In an instant, he transformed into a horrifying, lizard-like figure. The grayish-white scales resisted the scorching flames and aided him in breaking through the barrier of the crimson serpent. Sensing this transformation through the flames, Lumion's lips curled into an eerie grin. According to the information provided in Madame Magician's letter, Beyonders of the spectator pathway at sequence 6 hypnotist would gain an ability known as dragon scales. This ability allowed them to manifest grayish-white scales on their skin, greatly reducing and resisting damage. This ability was closely tied to the spectator pathway's mythical creature form, as every high-ranking spectator ultimately transformed into a mind dragon. The appearance of dragon scales confirmed that the patient in the west wing on the 3rd floor was at least a sequence 6 beyonder of the spectator pathway. Combined with the trap and his unusual movements, the patient's identity became evident. I know someone. Lumion activated the black mark on his right shoulder and used his ability to traverse the spirit world, instantly appearing in the ward. During this hunt, he refrained from wearing the lie earring or carrying the flog boxing gloves. This was because his adversary was a formidable psychiatrist, and any openings in his emotions or desires could be easily exploited. As Lumion's figure vanished from the lawn, the crimson fire serpents, which had expanded from consuming flammable materials in the doctor's duty room and nurse's workstation, abruptly dissipated. They transformed into glimmering specks of light that disappeared before the faces of the despairing and terrified onlookers. Apart from the charred remnants of various items, there was little evidence of the inferno they had narrowly escaped. On the 3rd floor of Delta Asylum, Lumion emerged from a room adjacent to the west wing. His gaze locked onto the patient, whose body was covered in grayish-white scales and whose eyes emitted a faint golden hue. He didn't exchange pleasantries or make inquiries. Instead, he opened his mouth and let out a sharp exclamation. Ha! An imperceptible yellow beam shot forth from Lumion's mouth, aimed at the suspected I know someone. However, at a distance of 2 to 3 meters, the pale yellow aura beam by the spell of Harumph brushed past the beyonder and struck the iron-barred glass window behind him. Battle hypnotism. This was one of a hypnotist's beyonder abilities. It could forcefully hypnotize an enemy in battle, causing them to act irrationally or make incorrect judgments. However, such actions couldn't directly harm the hypnotized person, and the effect would wear off quickly as they regained their senses. Just moments ago, when Lumion and the Beyonder locked eyes, the former had unwittingly fallen under his hypnosis. He had mistaken his own reflection in the glass window for his target, causing the spell of Harumph to veer off course. Seizing the opportunity, I know someone's light gold eyes widened, reflecting Lumion's male aura form. Lumion's head jerked backward, as if caught in a whirlwind. His emotions swirled with a mixture of joy and hatred. Crimson flames surged beneath his skin, and his eyes glinted with a sinister madness. Frenzy. This was a psychiatrist's beyonder ability designed to trigger intense emotions and destabilize the target's mental state, causing them to enter a frenzied state and suffer severe mental damage. If the target had existing psychological issues or strong emotions, they might even lose control when subjected to frenzy. Before undergoing psychiatric treatment from Madame Susie and Madame Justice, encountering I know someone in this state could send Lumion spiraling into madness, turning him into a monstrous figure. At that moment, magma-like blood dripped from his nose. His mind was in disarray, and he instinctively took deep breaths, temporarily losing the ability to execute his planned moves. I know someone refrained from launching another attack on Lumion at that moment. Firstly, causing the other party to lose control or perish would lead to the immediate release of the high-level creature sealed within his body, a sight that could drive even a beyonder below the demigod level to mental and physical collapse. Secondly, since Muggle's brother was present, it was likely that Hidden Blade wasn't far away. The invisible spider silk that had been ignited was likely her handiwork. In this dire situation, I know someone's first instinct was to swiftly exit the battlefield, escape Delta Asylum, and find a place to conceal himself once more. In an instant, he retrieved a broken arrow from the pocket of his blue and white striped hospital gown. The broken arrow looked ancient, with an obsidian-like arrowhead at its tip, adorned with mysterious patterns. With a squelching sound, I know someone thrust the obsidian arrow into his own chest. The item sprang to life, greedily absorbing the crimson blood that flowed forth. I know someone immediately sprinted toward the tightly sealed door, leaving behind an afterimage. Despite the grayish-white dragon scales covering his face, he exuded an uncanny charm, as if he had transformed into a dashing young dragon. This was the arrow of the bloodthirsty. By piercing it into his chest and feeding it his blood, it temporarily transformed I know someone into a vampire. This granted him extraordinary speed, accelerated regeneration, and a few spell-like abilities. Bang! As I know someone pushed open the heavy, solid door of the asylum ward, he failed to dart into the corridor. He collided with an ice barrier that had formed at some point. Amidst the sounds of cracking and shattering, the ice wall crumbled, but it also caused I know someone to lose his balance and tumble to the ground. Most of the shattered ice failed to penetrate his dragon scales. Only a handful managed to breach his defenses, leaving traces of blood in their wake. Thanks to the vampire's rapid regenerative abilities, the minor injuries swiftly began to heal. I know someone saw no need to rise to his feet. As his light gold eyes flickered, invisible waves radiated from him, enveloping the surroundings. In her state of invisibility, Franca felt as though she was witnessing the most horrifying scene from the depths of a nightmare, recalling her past terrors. Her body trembled, and she abandoned the protection of her invisibility, appearing in the corridor of the asylum. This was a psychiatrist's awe, also referred to as dragon might or mass chaos. It had the power to instantly induce panic in a single target or all living beings within its range, plunging them into chaos. Relying on dragon might to maintain control of the situation, I know someone agilely leaped up, intending to put some distance between himself and Franca as he sprinted down the corridor. He refrained from attacking her at this moment because he understood that demonesses possessed abilities like mirror substitution and staff substitution. Trying to kill her or cripple her combat abilities with a single strike would only delay his escape. As he vaulted out of the shattered ice, I know someone caught a glimpse of the ward, now empty. Lumion Lee appeared to have recovered from the effects of frenzy and used teleportation to evade Oz influence in the nick of time. Just as this realization crossed I know someone's mind, he saw the male version of Auror, Lumion, materialize in front of him. Without hesitation, I know someone's golden eyes focused on Lumion, preparing to cast awe once more. In the next moment, Lumion's figure vanished again. He had employed Spirit World Traversal twice, in quick succession. Almost simultaneously, I know someone's pupils dilated, and a shiver ran down his spine. The hairs on the back of his neck stood on end. This time, Lumien's destination was behind him. It was akin to blink. Lumien's figure instantly materialized behind I Know Someone, witnessing a dense black fog emanating from the latter's body, an attempt to evade to the side of the corridor. Too slow, Lumien harumphed, sending 2 white beams of light shooting from his nostrils to encompass the area ahead. I Know Someone couldn't evade and was struck by the white beams as he was thrown to the ground, tumbling twice. Lumien breathed heavily, feeling drained as his head throbbed with pain. 3 consecutive teleportations and 2 rounds of using the spell of Harumph and other abilities had completely sapped his energy. If it hadn't been for the substantial amount of pyromaniac potion he had digested compared to when he hunted the Padre, sustaining this level of expenditure would have been extremely challenging. Franca, who had recovered from awe, approached and shook her head in disapproval. No need for all that. It's not like you don't have assistance. Why go all out when help was available? Even if the major arcana card holders hadn't been lurking in the shadows, and even if I Know Someone had managed to escape the asylum, wouldn't he have left behind some blood that could be used for a curse? Lumien didn't respond, making his way over to the unconscious form of I Know Someone.